Okay, so everyone is talking about AI ethics, right? Safety, fairness, accountability, these are huge buzzwords. But if you're an engineer or a product manager actually building these systems, you're probably asking, great, but how do we do that? How do we get from these nice sounding principles to code and processes we can use every day? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dig into exactly that. We're looking at some really cool frameworks designed to bridge that massive gap. Let's get into it. Here's our game plan. First, we'll set the stage, really understanding that gap between principles and practice. Then, we're going to look at two key tools. One we'll call the AI governance checkup, and another that's a blueprint for responsibility. After that, we'll see how they fit together perfectly. And finally, we'll wrap up by talking about what this all means for making accountability actually, real. All right, first things first. Let's talk about the core problem here. Turning all these big, important ethical ideas into something you can actually build and measure. The AI space is just flooded with these high-level principles. We all agree on them. Things like fairness, transparency, privacy. They all sound great, but the real challenge is, how does a concept like fairness get translated into a line of code or become part of a company's daily workflow? That's where things get tricky. And look, this isn't just some random idea floating around. This is a direct quote from researchers who are deep in this field. The community is practically shouting from the rooftops that we have to move on from just talking about general principles. We need tangible operational practices. The experts are basically saying, okay, the talking points are great, but now it's time to actually build things. So that leads us right to the million-dollar question for this whole explainer. How do we do it? How do we build that bridge from the abstract to the concrete? Well, the answer seems to lie in creating really practical frameworks. And today, we're looking at two of them. One to figure out where you are right now, and one to give you a blueprint for where you need to go. Okay, let's start with that first tool. You can think of it like a diagnostic test or a checkup for a company's AI program. It's all about getting an honest look at where your organization is on its journey to responsible AI. This tool is called an AI governance maturity model. And what it does is it lets a company kind of hold up a mirror to itself. It helps them benchmark where their risk management practices are right now using this really intuitive crawl, walk, run idea. It helps them answer, are we just crawling, kind of figuring things out? Are we walking with some decent processes? Or are we running with advanced systematic governance in place? So how does it actually score you? Well, it boils down to 3 key metrics. First up is coverage. Are you even doing the right things? Like, are you actually testing for bias? Second is robustness. Okay, you're doing it, but how well are you doing it? Is it a one-off thing or is it a rigorous, well-funded process? And third, and this is so important, input diversity. Who's in the room when you make these decisions? Are you only listening to engineers or are you bringing in a wide range of voices? Now, what's really cool about this model is how flexible it is. You can slice and dice your score in a couple of different ways. You can look at it through the lens of your core business activities. Are we great at mapping risk but bad at managing it? Or you could look at it through the lens of responsibility. Hey, we're acing fairness, but whoa, our security practices are way behind. This gives you a really detailed map of your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so that was the checkup to see where you are. Now, let's switch gears and talk about our second tool. This one isn't about assessment. It's about building. It's a blueprint for designing responsible AI right from the very beginning. It's called the Social Responsibility Stack, or SRS for short. And the big idea here is to stop treating things like fairness and privacy as an afterthought. Instead, you treat them as core engineering requirements, just like performance or efficiency. It's literally an architectural framework for embedding these values directly into your system as hard constraints and controls. The stack itself has 6 layers that build on top of each other. You start at the bottom with value grounding, which is just a fancy way of saying you turn a vague value like fairness into a specific measurable rule. From there, you model its real-world impact, you build in safeguards, you create ways for humans to give feedback, you continuously audit the system once it's live, and you wrap the whole thing in good governance. Now, to make that a little less abstract, let's just zoom in on layer 3, design time safeguards. This is where the rubber really meets the road. We're talking about things like literally writing fairness constraints into your model's training process, building explainability in from the start, not trying to figure it out later, using privacy-preserving tech by default, and, this is so critical, building in clear, obvious ways for human to override the AI's decision or appeal it. So now we've got these 2 really powerful frameworks. You might be wondering, Okay, are they competing? Which one is better? But that's not the right way to think about it at all. They're actually two sides of the same coin, working together to achieve the exact same goal. And here's the aha moment. These tools form a single powerful ecosystem. Think about building a house. The blueprint, the social responsibility stack, is your architectural plan. It helps you answer, how do we build this thing right from the very start? Then the checkup, the maturity model, is your home inspector. It comes in and helps you answer, how are we doing right now? Is everything up to code? You absolutely need both to build and maintain a safe and responsible structure. And that brings us to the finish line, making accountability real. Why is having a blueprint and a checkup tool so incredibly important in the grand scheme of things? What does it all mean? Well, what these frameworks really represent is a massive shift from just talking about AI ethics to actually doing it. They take us beyond those vague principles and give us concrete, verifiable actions. They give companies evidence-based ways to see if they're actually making progress. They create auditable trails so if something goes wrong, you can see why. They embed this whole idea of responsibility into every single step of building AI. It's a game changer. So, the main thing to take away from all this is that the tools are here. The blueprints, the checkups, they exist. We actually have a clear path to get from those abstract principles to tangible, real world practice. And that leaves us with one final and maybe the most important question of all. Now that we have them, who is responsible for actually picking them up and using them?